Welcome to our 6th episode of Coping with Jesus, brought to you by St. Walter Church in Roselle, Illinois, in the Diocese of Joliet. My name is Donna Berg. I am the Discipleship Coordinator here at St. Walter's, and I will be your host. Remember, we bring these podcasts to you as a result of a need that we see so deeply in our parish and around with all of our neighbors, for people who need to talk about how things are going, how they're coping, how difficult this life has been, especially during the pandemic. And what our goal is to bring to you some ideas that follow the modeling of Jesus, which we can find in scriptures. So we have conversations each week with women from different walks of life. And today we bring back Lisa Mann.
Hi, Donna.
Lisa, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
I think last time we were on the Zoom call.
Yes, we were.
So praise God, we can be in person today with our little plexiglass screen between us. So thank you. Could you just remind everybody a little bit about yourself? Tell them a little bit about yourself before we begin.
Sure, I'm Lisa Mann. I will be 52 next month. My husband and I, we've been married 27 years. We have a daughter, Barbara, who graduated from St. Walter's here in 2016. Currently an unemployed stay-at-home mom. Maybe in 2021 things will change, but that's okay. I've been kept plenty busy with with plenty of activities here at church via Zoom.
Perfect.
And now
yes. Yes, you are big on joining many things that we have going on our live stream programs and everything. That's awesome. So last time you were here, we talked about a habit of Jesus where first thing he did each day was to go to a quiet place and talk to God as Father.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit about that last time, and the habit of starting your day with prayer. And are you still keeping up with some prayer in the morning?
Yes. Less news, more prayer. The longer this pandemic has gone on, it's less news, more prayer. And that's
perfect. And we do know that God is with us, and we just need to be patient. I think we believe that and trust that. So today, we want to go to look at another habit. We want to look at the habit of interruptions. Jesus teaches us through scriptures that interruptions are from the Lord, from God. They're divine. They can be grace-filled, and they can move us to beautiful experiences. So the scripture passage that we're using is from Luke 8, and it's about the woman with the hemorrhage. And if you remember that story, Jesus was on his way. He was on a very important mission to heal the child of Jairus and his friend. And as he was walking, someone touched his cloak. Now, there were many people around, but he felt this. And he stopped, and he wanted to know who it was. But his apostles, they didn't think it was such a good idea for him to stop, because he had an important mission. He had to get there to heal this 12-year-old girl. And so Jesus stopped anyway and took the time to find the woman who had touched him, who was actually healed by touching him, and to let her know how special that was, that her faith had healed her. So interruptions in our life, though not quite that dramatic, can be those kinds of blessing, grace moments also. Did you have any, does that resonate with you for any interruptions that stood out or stand out from back 7, 8 months ago?
I would say my daughter's interruption with her senior year at school stands out. And interruptions are something I still work on because I'm not the most patient person. I try to do my best with it, but it's something I continue to strive for. So when her school totally stopped and there was all of this ambiguity and unknown for a few weeks on what was going to happen, that made life interesting because when Barbara was trying to cope with that shift, I was trying to figure out how things were going to continue to work with her doing school remote, and it seemed like I was fretting more than I needed to. And then interruption turned out to be a really good thing because one of the things she said a few weeks into being at home virtually at school, she said, I didn't realize how fast everything was going until we had to stop. Mm. And I thought, oh, now that's a teaching moment for me because I still need to work on this a lot. And that's okay because, everybody's got to work on something. And me understanding that interruptions are a good thing is one of those areas.
Right. So they say out of the mouths of babes. Well, she's not a babe, but
No.
Out of the mouth of your child. We really do have to be open to learning from them and aware of what they're going through and what these interruptions are meaning to them. So do you think it was almost harder for you to cope with her interruptions because we feel for our own children than it was for her?
Yes, I do. And her interruptions of needing me more became more frequent. And I don't say that in a negative because I want to make sure, she had a good breakfast or make her lunch or, maybe we would go to Starbucks and go through the drive-thru. But it just seemed like all of a sudden the day I had planned out now had a little more, less planning going on. So I started restructuring a little bit of what I was doing. And since she was able to sleep in a little more, it's like, okay, take some time for me earlier. And then, let's figure out what's going on with her, what's going on with me, and then we got into a routine pretty quickly. But it took a few days of, what is this?
What is this? How can we make this look better? How can we make this feel better, and how can we make her feel more comfortable? Now, last time you shared with us that you had an interruption in your life prior to the pandemic that maybe prepared you a little bit for this shifting. Do you want to share that a little bit with us?
Sure. Me and my team, along with a number of others, so there were 12 of us total, that were all let go. The nice word in business is reorganization. But we were all let go due to that reorganization. And that's an interruption that had some interesting ramifications beyond the monetary because we relocated down to this area for my job. And then I switched jobs, and then he switched jobs, and then we had a few more job changes. But then, you've been at the same place for 12 years. And all of a sudden, it's not there. Right. And the rug was beyond pulled out from under me. And my daughter, it threw her because she didn't know how we were going to manage. And I said, we're okay. I said, we've always planned with the finances in case one of us lost our job. And, given the prior things that happened back in the late 2000s, you have to be prepared. But it was still one of those things where you kind of look at it, and I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. I know what my worth is in God's eyes, but it's like, okay, now what?
Now what?
Because it does impact your identity a whole lot. Right. And what do? And you start taking stock in restock and family and friends and being at home and doing some of those things that you've put off for a really long time because you didn't have time. Well, now you have time.
Right, right. Okay, you have so many things I want to go back to here with this. One is that the fact that you are just the three of you, and Barbara's not a little girl anymore, so she took on kind of an adult worry for what was going on,
Right.
and how that would work in your family. And the reason I brought you back to that pre-pandemic situation was many people have gone through that from the pandemic. So they are going through that loss of identity, not just loss of income, but
Right.
loss of identity.
Right.
And the family members need to help cope with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a whole family situation. It's not just your personal. It
No.
affects everybody.
No.
You could be crabby and depressed because I no longer get to get up and get dressed and go to work in the morning, you know. But taking both of those situations, Barbara's schooling and your loss of job, I'm amazed at how beautifully you have found other things to do with your life that are keeping you uplifted.
Yes.
And many of those are things that we are offering here through the church, things spiritual, aids and spiritual groups. And can you tell us a little bit about what you have found peace through?
Definitely getting more involved in Alpha. It was one of those things that I'd put off for a long time because of work. And then, now that I had time, it's like, okay, let's, now that she's done with her senior year, I have time to get involved in that. The Lectio Divina group has definitely been a godsend. I'm glad it continued past the few months originally that it signed up for, because I've made new friends and definitely deeper spiritual connections with Deacon Mike and everybody else in the group. Let's see, what else did we do?
That was that Hope series.
That was the Hope series. We did the Hope in the summer. The summer Hope series. We did that. There's another one that's escaping me right now, but I know there was the Connect group. Yeah, the Connect group,
which is the journey.
Yeah.
So, and
there's a lot.
And by you joining on, zooming onto those different methods, different programs, it's not really taking you from your family that much, because you are in your home. So there were so many, thank God, so many things that you could connect to and try to stay, try to build your hope, right? Try to stay in touch with hope and trust in the Lord. I think we should mention Barbara again now that we've gone a few months beyond, back into the school year. She graduated last year.
She did. She did graduate this past spring.
And so what happens now with her?
It was funny. We had to wait for a few months for she got accepted into Northern. We had to wait for a few months to find out what was going to happen at Northern Illinois, because there was supposed to be orientation. Well, there was supposed to be prom in high school too. Neither of those happened. They did a virtual orientation instead, and then it was waiting to hear what they were going to do about classes in the fall. Was it going to be on campus? Was it going to be online? Was it going to be a hybrid? What were they going to do? And I know she had some questions, and I said, you know what? We just have to wait, because school administration and everybody there is looking into probably multiple different paths to take. And once they have that all figured out, we're going to hear. So what wound up basically happening, she had the option to go on campus, but she wasn't going to be able to eat in the cafeteria. She would be in her own dorm room alone. Her classes would still be online. And we started talking, and she sat down with me at one point when I was having my coffee in the morning. She goes, what do you think? And I said, at least for the first semester while this is going on, if not for the first year, there's no point in you going to live on campus. You'll have more people interaction living at home than you will on campus, most likely, because you're not going to want to go out and socialize with people given a pandemic. And why give up all the comforts of home to be in a room all by yourself. That makes no sense. I said, that's my take. And she thought about that for a while, and she talked to her father a little bit, which was basically his take. And she came to the conclusion that, yeah, I think I better live at home the first year. She loves it. She is absolutely thriving
Oh, that's wonderful.
in college online, which I'm kind of surprised at. But we've got the technology. We can keep, just like with her school, we can keep connected with streaming, with Mass, with the Rosary, with, Father's podcast and all the different things in the Hope series. There's so much we can do now that we couldn't do when I was in college.
Right.
That wasn't there
Right.
at all.
Don't you think we are just so blessed by these platforms, by Zoom? Like you mentioned, people interaction that you wouldn't have in a dorm. But if you're on a Zoom class with people, is she interacting with
Definitely.
people on the screen?
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, it's different. It's not as personable, but it certainly is interacting. So that is a blessing that I think we have learned to use from this interruption of you can't see people anymore. You can't do this the way you used to do it,
Right.
It's dangerous to be in a group, but we can still be in a group with these,
Right.
with these platforms, with this method.
Right. And I'm an extrovert, so I'm a people person. And that stood out from early on in this pandemic. I'm like, I need to get a little more involved in something else and have a few more interactions because I was feeling like I was missing something.
So you looked for other things, but you didn't have to look that far.
No.
Here at St. Walter's, we offered a lot, thank God.
Yep.
But you were looking for something. You weren't about to just sit still
Right.
and say, okay, now life has been interrupted. I'm going to wait for months or years for this to get better.
Right.
So that's a beautiful thing about you and a beautiful thing about extroverts that they do. But also, I think it's been true of other people too, not just the extroverts, but people who are trying to find something to do. What about around the house? I think we have a couple minutes. So interrupted, everybody's home together now. Did you do any family things different than you had done before?
Not too many. I think we've shared more goofy moments. That's actually one of the things, because I've been home so much more. If I start feeling a little more homebound, it makes me get punchy. I cannot explain why, which is why I still have to get out in the car and drive around just to get some sunshine or take a walk or do something, because after a while it's not that I feel claustrophobic, it's just I need to get up, I need to do something, we need to shake things up, we need to do something else. But there's been a lot more of silly moments, and that's I don't know if that's intentional or just we're laughing a lot more because you're either going to laugh or you're going to cry. I would rather laugh. It's better for your health. It's good for stress relief, and it's better to have fun and do that sort of thing. She and I have been playing a lot more online Scrabble.
There you go.
That helps. She beats me a lot more than she used to.
And you're not letting her like you.
No,
No.
no. In fact, when she was little, that's how I was taught. You don't let the child beat you. Maybe when they're 3, but when they're like 7 or 8, they're gonna learn. And I would, early on when we would play online Scrabble, I would coach her. Okay, here's why you don't want to make a move like this, because then you open up. See this double word or this triple word or this. And I'm not the best Scrabble player in my family. That would go to my niece. So I've learned some interesting tricks from her, and I was trying to teach all of those to Barbara. But yeah, I would say for every 5 games we play, she's winning at least 3 out of them.
Awesome. That's good. Good for her. So family time, family
movie
time,
night,
moving, laughing, everything seemed to go well with that. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us this afternoon. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about how interruptions turn to blessings before we close with a prayer?
I think the one thing, especially after hearing what Christine mentioned about interruptions being blessings on her podcast, when I heard that, it was something clicked on, take a breath when you get an interruption and then see where it goes. Instead of it automatically looking at it as, oh no, now what? Let's say, okay, what's this? And I want to say, I've been doing that more and more over the past year, but especially after Christine's talk, I thought, all right, let's just change this again, because you were getting in a rut with interruptions, and oh no, there's something else. It's like we got to take a step back and not say, oh no. It's more like, now what? Is this a good surprise? And I'm still working on that, because I blew it the other day.
We are all still working at life. That's beautiful that you learned from Christine, that we learned from each other, and that's part of what we hope happens here in our podcasts. Coping with Jesus. Jesus can be our model, and we can be models to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing that. Well, again, thank you for being with us and sharing so openly about yourself and your family. I'd like to close with a little prayer. Lord God, we thank you for Lisa today. Thank you for her sharing. Thank you for her family. Thank you for how Barbara companions her through her, and of course her husband too, through her interruptions and through life challenges. Thank you for the way Lisa, an extrovert, finds ways to connect with people, and thank you for the laughter that interruptions brought into the family life. Be with us, Lord, as we move forward, and we ask these things in your sweet name. And thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again next week. And next week we will begin talking about saying no and how no's can turn to yeses.